Hello everybody, today I'm going to be covering Sonic Riders, released in 2006. Definitely was the earliest game released in 2006, so technically I should have covered it before Sonic was 6, but whatever, I do the order what I want to do it. Sonic Riders is a 6th-gen racing game, which reinvented the formula by kind of adding in some Pro Skater stuff, with tricks and all that other stuff, and new mechanics. It started a brand new franchise, which only lasted 3 installments. Unfortunately, from what I've heard, they get worse and worse. Another third one's obviously bad because on the Kinect, but I don't know why Zero Gravity isn't as good as the first one. But hey, let's take a look at the first game to figure out why some people think this is a cult classic game. Sonic Riders is a very interesting game because the control scheme is very unique. Sonic is ditching running and he's going on hoverboards, or, well, extreme gears are called in-game. Essentially, how the game works is that you're always going forward, but you're running out of air. Yeah, these things run on air. That makes sense, I guess. Anyway, in order to gain air, you can go to these little baby stations, which sucks, it slows you down, or you can do tricks, which you can do off of ramps. So you can do tricks by turning the joystick multiple times to get you bonus tricks. And the more tricks you do, the better balance you get. Not balance, but the more speed you get, and the more air you get from that. You can get even more air, your meter, by collecting rings. A certain amount of rings makes your meter go up. Of course, doing jumps makes you get better tricks, and you turn certain tricks based on where you aim the joystick. It's kind of like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but in a racing form. And the game teaches you none of this. And yes, there's even more to this. You can use the drift button, which is the air trigger buttons, in order to do a drift, which also takes up your air gauge. And it's kind of tricky to figure out since it doesn't really work that well until you figure it out. And the worst thing about it is that your slowdown button is also your drift button. Whoever designed that should get fired. Sometimes I've ended up actually slowing my character down rather than actually drifting, which is a pain in the fucking ass. So essentially, you have to master these controls if you want to beat the game, because this game treats you like you already know how to master them. Instead of just you know the basics, you have to master it. The game's a little slippery on the controls. I do think the game is quite fun, however, it can be brutally hard, especially for newcomers. This game was not made for little kids in mind, that's for sure, despite the fact that, it is technically a kid's game. This game is balls to the walls, and that's why a lot of people like it. I'm more in the middle. I find myself having fun at times, however, the requirements for some of the elements are just annoying. Especially the idea of just slowing, the fact my drift doesn't really work that well, and drifting's a very important thing, and the drift here just sucks ass. Also, one of the strangest things is that there's power, speed, and flying type characters, like Sonic Heroes, and they have certain shortcuts they can take, something of which I'm not the biggest fan of. If you're a speed type character, you can grind on these rails that sometimes appear. However, grinding on them isn't the easiest thing in the world. You have to press the A button again for you jump onto them, which is trickier said than done, because you basically have to press A then A again really fast, and you have to go at just the right angle, because sometimes it just fucks up and doesn't work well. Especially jumping from rail to rail is pretty annoying. Especially when the flight and power characters have way better skips. Flying characters jump off these ramps and go for these flying little hoops there, which have been in previous Sonic games, and they seem to give you a lot more speed and kick you way more through the level than the rails do. So yeah, they feel a little more broken. Not too much, but they feel like a better power-up than what you get for power speed characters. Meanwhile, power characters don't have to do any special move. They go towards something that gives them, they can punch, they just automatically will hit it, and that'll give them air as well as take pretty broken shortcuts. And that includes obstacles that are just regular levels, like cars that would usually hinder other characters. These power characters will just punch through. And that feels like a little broken power-up. I kind of wish these stat boosts weren't character-based, and just like whoever character can do it, but oh well. Since characters have stats already, so it doesn't really matter. The last thing that you can do as your character is pressing the B button, or whatever button the other consoles have. I play GameCube, so it's B. You can do a boost, which also takes up your air meter. And yeah, that can be useful. However, you gotta know the level in order to know when to use it best before you run out of air. However, it can be very useful, especially when you're trying to get ahead of the game. All this will be pretty much fine, except for this one feature, the slipstream. If there's a CPU ahead of you, they will create a slipstream behind them, which is interesting, so you get automatically sucked in them. It can block you from doing certain shortcuts that you might need to actually win the race, and because of that, you might have to reset because of these annoying-ass slipstreams. So it's best just to try to get first in most of these levels, because these slipstreams will fuck you up, even though they're supposed to be beneficial. For the most part, they don't really speed you up that much faster than the person you're behind, and it just locks you into a certain area, blocking you from doing certain special moves and exits, which are basically required to play this game. I have no idea why they designed it that way. It's very annoying. But you're not just playing these Sonic characters through random raceways for no reasons. There is a story. Well, kind of a story. There's not really much going on for it, but hey, let's take a look at it. Turning on the game, you'll find different modes, including a story mode. The story mode has 2 different modes with the Heroes and Babylon. However, you only start Heroes. In order to lock Babylon, you have to start Heroes mode. Sonic and his friends of Team Sonic, I guess they're just hanging around all the time, wearing super cool goggles, see 3 bird guys flying, and Sonic's like, I want to stop them, I guess. These guys are using extreme gear, and Sonic's like, stop in the name of the law, but they're like, fuck you, dude. I don't know what he's expecting to happen to do there. Also, I think they're criminals, but I don't think they stole anything. They like an emerald, I guess, but, you know, Chaos Emeralds kind of go up in the air all the time, so what the fuck does it matter? I say this because they don't really do anything criminal other than cheat one time in a race, but other than that, they're not really... I don't get it. I know they commit crimes in the comics, but in the game they don't, so whatever. Anyway, Sonic finds a new rival in Jet, who wants to test his speed.
He may be the fastest creature on the ground, but in the air, with me and my extreme gear, he's just a joke!
Oh, in case you're wondering, Jet is voiced by Jason Griffith. His voice work here could be described as, what if Sonic was a bird, and then you get Jet? So why are they racing? Well, Eggman, after this event, sets up a race. But it's not just a race, it's a special race to see who's the fastest.
Not just a race, but a special race to see who's the fastest!
So I guess they decide, let's go investigate, but they don't really investigate Eggman ever. He just sets up a race and just like, give me your Chaos Emeralds, and they give him a Chaos Emerald, because I guess they're idiots in this game. All the characters are dumb in this game, that's all I can say. Eggman outsmarts everybody. Also, these models are okay in the game, but when seeing them in the cutscenes, you realize that their hands are fucking huge! If you want to know how big their hands and feet are in this game, look at a model comparison video between one of these characters, and you'll see that they are ginormous. However, they are well animated. They actually do unique animations and aren't doing janky stuff like they do in some other Sonic games. So every character wants to join the race, even Amy, who is not actually a main character in the game. She just says she wants to be there because Sonic's in there, and he's like, ugh.
Ugh.
Tails made Extreme Gear for all the characters, and he's like, oh, these guys are Babylons. They're like bird people who are descendants of genies. Don't ask. So yeah, one of the members of the Babylons, Wave the Swallow, who's the technician, comes over and says, Tails, your work's shit, and then leaves. Great, I love it.
Yeah, how can she just walk in and diss Tails?
I know, and tinkering's all he's really good at, too.
This makes Tails so mad he goes in and joins the race himself. Knuckles then runs into this guy. He's Storm. He's also a member of the Babylons. He's an Albatross, and like Albatross in real life, he's a big idiot, I guess. But he's also strong, so Knuckles and him want to fight. But instead of fighting, they're like, let's race! After this race, Jet's like, you suck 'cause you don't have wings, so give up. And Sonic makes him super pissed. All the characters get super pissed off in this game, and that's why they race. So Sonic's gonna race to prove that even without wings, he can still fly. Anyway, they finally make it to the Grand World Prix after that, and yeah, no one thinks this is weird at all. The Chows are watching, they're all celebrating whatever those JPEGs are. Amy didn't get in, I guess, and she's wearing her regular outfit now, which is kind of weird to see in this game, but whatever. So yeah, Sonic's winning this Grand Prix, he thinks he's all cool and stuff, he's gonna win, but then uh-oh, there's Jet the Hawk, and he's gonna cheat. Because his girlfriend, Wave the Swallow, who swallows, I guess, blows his up his extreme gear, and Sonic loses. Yeah, wah wah. So after winning the race, the Chaos Emeralds reacting to the Tesseract Cube, that's Tesseract from the Avengers movie. It opens up Babylon Garden, and that's what Eggman wanted all along. That's why he wanted the Chaos Emeralds, and now he's going to use this stuff to go in there. But not to go in there, to drive in there on his moped, baby! So Sonic's gonna race in there after Jet, who also wants whatever Eggman's after. But Sonic's like, without wings, I can still fly, bitch.
Even without wings, I can still fly!
In case you're wondering, this is Sonic's reaction to hit Jet just falling on his ass for no reason. And it's one of the worst deliveries in the whole franchise. I have no idea what Jason Griffith was doing here, but whatever. So Eggman wants to get in, he's like, I'm gonna kill your girlfriend, Sonic, if you don't. And Sonic's like, fuck you, dude, I don't give a shit about Amy, and he does whatever the hell that is. So we never see what's inside Babylon Garden as Sonic gives the Tesseract back to Jet and is like, do whatever you want with it. I'm not a bird person, so I don't give a crap about Babylon. But Amy is mad at Sonic because he did that tornado attack on Eggman when she was right there, so she's gonna kill him, I guess. And that's how this hero story ends in this game. Kind of bizarre. Yep, this is how the hero story ends. Don't ask. And yeah, I'm actually going to talk about each individual track later in the video, but I was going to do all the story parts now, alright? So let's go on to the Babylon story. So the Babylons, they have a giant airbase with the shape like the bird. Jet just admires his Tesseract all day, and that's when he gets news from his companions. Eggman comes aboard and says, do this race and prove that you're the fastest, and that's all it takes for these guys to want to race, because, you know, they don't have a lot going for them other than racing, even though they're supposed to be thieves, but, you know, they really like racing, alright? So yeah, we get another cutscene redone from the hero story after that, where Wave puts a bomb on the Extreme Gear, and she actually lies. She actually thinks his work's impressive, but she has to insult him because she has to belittle up people to make herself feel better. The next cutscene showcases that Storm's an idiot, and Jet's like, you're gonna get fired if you don't do the job I want for you. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. So yeah, they're worried about everything. Well, his companions are. Jet doesn't care. He just wants to relax and race. And Wave's like, you gotta do this. You're the leader. You're supposed to take responsibilities. And Jet's like, bitch, all I care about is racing, you fucking cunt. I'm not making this up. It's in the game. He even zones her out. He's like, he's so much of a good friend he is. So initially, Jet doesn't care about when the Tesseract forms an island, but she tells him there might be gold there, and that makes him become Wario all of a sudden, and he's like, wait, I better get this gold before Sega writes out money altogether in the weird canon thing that they were doing. Is that even a thing anymore? I don't know. Also, they were going to fight the characters at the Babylon Garden here, but they were distracted by Eggman's robot racers, who are also in the game. Yeah. Anyway, after a random race, they finally get through the Babylon Garden by punching through the doors, and they're going to race on through to the other side. And when they go in, they find this weird area full of nothingness, a vast emptiness, like my soul. It turns out that it's a giant genie who wants to tempt them with a race. Race me, and I'll show you the Babylon secret. So yeah, he's easily defeated in the easiest race in the game, but we'll get to that a little later, and he reveals that inside is a treasure chest. But then Eggman shows up, and he points 2 guns at Sonic and friends. Like, holy shit, dude, what are you doing there, Eggman? I mean, it's not the first time he was attempting to kill somebody with a gun, but it is kind of shocking to see again. But all it turns out is that the secret, all along, was a magic carpet from Aladdin, and Eggman does not like that one bit. For some reason, Eggman is not impressed at all with this magic carpet. I mean, it literally is the magic carpet from Aladdin, but I guess he's not a big fan of the movie. He's more of a Beauty and the Beast fan. Oh well, Eggman, your loss. And that's the end of the game. That's the story. The story really doesn't have a whole lot going for it. It introduces 3 new characters in the Babylons who, other than comic appearances, do not appear in main game, so yeah, they're just kind of here for this story, and it's just okay. I don't know how they're descendants of genies if they're birds, but whatever. Does the game devs not know that birds are descendants of dinosaurs? Do you think dinosaurs are genie? I don't know. Whatever. This is stupid. Who cares about this shit other than me? Anyway, let's get to the levels. There's actually not a whole lot of levels, and the Babylon's version of the story basically has alternate versions of previous levels. You know, sometimes they feel pretty much completely different. The first level is Metal City, which is a tutorial level, kind of. It has the most basic thing layout. It's just a giant little circle there, or oval, if you will. Basically, everything's pretty straightforward here. There are cars that you can get run over, but that's okay. Nothing too bad here. There's not many turns here, and some of them you can actually just do away with by just using grind rails and stuff like that. Overall, it's a pretty straight path, and it should be able to figure out the controls at this point if you don't use tutorials or look it up online, but you're probably going to need it. Overall, this is definitely the easiest course in the game. It's definitely the best place to practice because of how linear it is, which is good, since the next levels are going to get a lot more complicated. Splash Canyon shows Tails is a level you play as Tails, where he goes through waterfalls and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. There's a weird branching path where you can take alternate pathways based on the character, like the middle path here makes you go to the flight character, and overall this course has a lot more going on. I think it's definitely one of my favorite ones in the game due to how unique it is, like go for caves. There's a lot of interesting little alternate pathways you can take, and it's not too difficult. It's wide open, and has a nice aesthetic. The next level, or course you'll be playing on, is Egg Factory. This one is mostly just a lot of tight turns in a very hot-looking factory. Overall, when you play as Knuckles, there's barely any alternate pathways, even for him, which is really beat. Like, what the heck? There is lava following in the portion that does fill up over time, but other than that, this course is actually pretty easy, just because the CPU seems to be trashed at this level. I don't know why. It technically is a little bit more complicated, but it's, you know, just a couple tight turns, and if you know how to turn, which I don't because I suck at it, it shouldn't be too hard. The next level is Green Cave. This one also has pretty interesting pathways. If you're a flying character, you can take this, but you also can go on top of these vines, which kind of go a little 360 a little bit. It's a little weird, and you also go on this giant centipede thing. Like, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, this level kind of reminds me of Green Forest from the Sonic Adventure 2, but at the same time, no, not really. This level is busted for flight characters, as you can see, but you just take giant shortcuts. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. You go for spider webs at some point, like this is a No Doubt song for somehow. But you know, yeah, this level, it's crazy. It's a little bizarre, and flight characters are kind of broken because they get so many unique shortcuts. It's fun and all, but you know, like I said, it's broken for one character. Next up is Sand Ruins, a level that I love. Yeah, no, I don't. This is one of the first of the levels that just really got on my nerves. This one is a desert, and it's the final race. Well, not really, because there's another race afterwards. But yeah, this grind rail here can be hard to get because of the way it's positioned. You have to go your way, and the turning's a little stiff but slippery at the same time, which isn't very good. Also, there is moving sand that was moving to your death, and if you don't go all the way to the left, which is extremely annoying. And then you're just in a cave, which sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. If you don't know, on the ramps, if you hold back on the joystick a little bit, you can go to the upper path if you're going at the right speed and whatnot. And it's easier said than done. And yeah, overall, the opening area section is just super annoying due to the quicksand and just the weird level design of this level. It took me way too long to do it, and I didn't even think I was going to do it. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to Babylon Garden. I did not think I was going to beat this game. Literally, this level right here, I probably spent, I'm not joking, 4 hours playing this track. It is that annoying. I had to memorize it and try to get the best run possible in order to beat it, because that is exactly what you wanted. I didn't even believe it when I beat it. But yeah, I did, and I am proud of myself, because this thing was an absolute bitch. This one actually has bombless pits, means you have to learn how to do the turning and drifting, which, like I said, is easier said than done, since the drifting is a little finicky in my part, especially since it will slow you down sometimes. Also, when they have drift streams here and there, it can be pretty annoying. This opening section here is pretty bitching to get right too, especially since sometimes it doesn't speed you up right where you want to. Also, it seems that the grind rails are pretty useless compared to the power and flight paths that seem to give those character advantages way better. But fortunately, you're playing as Sonic, who has, like I said, probably the worst ones with the grind rails, which you have to be exactly perfect in order to get through. Overall, this level is incredibly annoying, and other people pretty much have said the same thing. But if you're a kid, you got to this level, you probably never got past it. It is extremely hard, and it really tests your patience. Overall, it's not that bad a level. It's kind of a cool aesthetic, but having to play it for so long, I got tired of it real fucking quick. Also, that left ramp there, yeah, you can't take that. There's another character with a slipstream in the way. You'll go on the fucking slipstream and not take that extra path that gives you extra height and all that other shit. Because fuck you, that's why. That was the last course for the Heroes Sideline, so now we're going to the Babylon. Night Chase is their first track, which is just an alternate version of the first Heroes track. There's a lot more cop cars here. You even go to underground section where you're kind of like in a parking garage area. But for the most part, it basically is the same as the other track, which is whatever it was called. So you can watch that. You remember what it is. I didn't remember. Alright, yeah, it's not very difficult at all. Next up is Red Canyon, which is the alternate version of the first Tails level. This one you're going to be spending more time underground than above ground, and unlike the Tails version of the level, which I said was my probably favorite, this one is pretty annoying, since the alternate flight pathway is not very good there, and you're always going to be stuck in this slipstream because of that. It has a lot of unique alternate pathways, but it's a little more finicky than the other one, making it a lot more annoying to deal with. So yeah, it's basically like a worse version of the other one, especially since the good flight checkpoints are gone, and getting this one is way easier said than done. But hey, you go for the wheel. That's cool. The next one is Storm's level, Ice Factory, which is just the Eggman factory, but, on ice. And it is a little slippery, which makes it a little annoying, especially when the controls are already slippery. This one's a lot more difficult than Knuckles' path because of the slipperiness, and you have to go find perfect shortcuts, which can be easier said than done. Like, you have to go for these fans if you want to go past go for the area, which is fine. However, Slipstream could fuck you up and accidentally make you go to the other one. Yeah, whatever. And all people are like, oh, I don't have a problem with this game. Yeah, if you're most people, you probably play this game a million times. I haven't, alright? This is the first time I played it all the way through. It's kind of annoying. It's not newcomer approved. And yes, I played a bunch of other racing games. I played a shit ton of Tony Hawk games. I played a lot of Mario Kart and Tony Hawk. So I should be able to not have that as much problem with this game. But I do, because it's a little finicky. Next up is White Cave, an alternate version of the jungle level. This time you're playing as Jet, which is unique since we weren't playing as Sonic during the first time. This one has a lot more spider webs and a shortcut that basically, if you get it, you win. But if you don't get it, which can be finicky, and if you don't, then you just automatically lose. And that's just how it's set up, pretty much. Yeah. If you don't get certain shortcuts, you basically have to reset the whole thing because you won't get it. This stage, I like the way it looks and the way it plays. It's just the fact that it's so finicky with some shortcuts you have to do. It just it's bullshit. But yeah, this one's not too bad. It did take me a while, but at least I had fun playing it, so that's good. Anyway, the next stage, and the second to last stage, you're playing as Jet during the competition. However, this one is Dark Jungle. This one has a lot of weird alternate pathways to take if you miss certain grind rails. This one is actually way easier. Well, it's still really hard and annoying, but it's nowhere near as bad as the regular desert level. So I'll take this one any day over that, even though this one has a lot more technically more challenging stuff, but has a cooler aesthetic with a nighttime little desert run, and go for little towns and stuff like that, and cool caves. So yeah, I prefer it, even though that little area there can be annoying to get through the little tunnel. But other than that, I like it. Speaking of the levels that should be harder than the original versions but aren't, Sky Road is the last one, and instead of playing as Jet, we're playing as Wave, who's going for the Babylon Fortress. This level is basically like an easier version of Sonic's, since Wave has better skipways, and this one's just a better design overall. So yeah, didn't have a lot of problems with this course. I think it's quite fun, and I ended up being it way shorter than it did Sonic's, that's for sure. But at this point, I pretty much felt like I became a master at the game, even though I probably am not, and someone I know who's playing the game longer than me probably could beat my ass, but hey, that's all I gotta say about all the Sonic Riders levels. Holy crap, that was a lot. But if you want more from Sonic Riders, that is in the main story, this is regular track ways, you can go to mission mode. You unlock missions after playing certain parts of the game. The mission modes are basically just freestyle. You have a time limit where you have to do a certain thing, like find certain elements of a level, do certain tricks, and, all other things like that. And yeah, they are okay. They kind of like test your knowledge of the game, and I wish they were all of them are locked from the get-go, since it would have helped a lot with figuring out certain things, playing with computers, but whatever. Here you go. There's a lot of these, actually, and it'll probably take you a long time to do it, since each track has one of these to do, so yeah, you might be here all day, and these also have a ranking for gold meter, depending on how many things you've done, so yeah, there's an ranking system for these, so if you like Sonic Riders, there's a whole lot of side content with just that alone. When playing through Sonic Riders, you can choose levels that aren't out of order, basically, as well as other bonus stuff, which is pretty cool, actually. There's a lot of unlockable stuff to play with your friends and stuff like that, and additional characters, including Sega characters, and a lot of alternate boards. I didn't do all this, I just beat the game. Beating the game as the Babylons unlocks Eggman, except it's the old Eggman, because look at his voice.
Do you think you can beat me?
Eggman rides a motorcycle, and yes, even in-game, Eggman's voice is Dean Bristow, for some reason. Being the game by Heroes unlocks 3 Sonic characters, the first one being Cream the Rabbit, who's a flight-based character. Eggman's a power character, in case you're wondering. Rouge the Bat, who's a flight-based character. Shadow the Hedgehog uses air skates instead of using extreme gear, which is kind of cool. For the 3 Sega characters, you have to beat all missions, the first one being Knights, who's a flight-based character. And yes, it is super cool to see Knights in a Sonic game. She/he, or whatever gender you assume Knights is, because that's how Knights is pretty cool, because, they were created by a Sonic team, pretty cool. Yuji Naka's in prison. But yeah, I like Knights, alright? That's why I have this segment, because I like the character. Another Sega franchise I like a lot is Ai from Super Monkey Ball, who's in a monkey ball! Oh my god! I didn't see that before because I never, I never locked it, but I love that so much. He has banana, but sometimes he'll go into a ball. That is so cool. Man, I wish I didn't have the patience to play all them. What is it? I don't know what he is. I think he's a power character based on the fact he's in a ball. Yeah, that's cool. The last Sega character is Ulala, who's from that game I never played or heard anyone else talk about, Space Channel 5. That's that character. Yeah, don't got much to say about her. The best character is E1000G, which you get from playing the game for 20 hours. Best character in the game. What's better than that guy? How about a red variant that you have to unlock by playing the game for 50 hours? Yeah, I have no idea if these guys are playable in the game at all. Let's talk about additional tracks. This track's not an additional track, I just forgot to talk about it, so I'm putting it here. This is the last race, which is against the Babylon Guardian, which is just a giant U shape, and you basically just do a bunch of tricks so you can catch up to the guy, and then you just press the B button to boost at him, and that's pretty much it. You're forced to play as Sonic, so you can't take the other character shortcuts, but you can play this map after you beat this section. Pretty basic, pretty easy, and there's no time out, so you know you can fail it miserably at it. After beating the game, you get 2 additional tracks, that being Sega Carnival, which is the Heroes version of the track, which allows you to go, which is a track that takes you through Sega elements like Samba de Amigo here, as well as Billy Hatcher and the Giant Effing Egg. That's one big egg, that's all I can say. It's pretty cool to see all these other Sega franchises. I don't know why this game was obsessed with using Sega stuff, but hey, we also get to go through Knights, which is a game franchise I already mentioned that I'm a big fan of. Why is there only 2 games? Seriously, Sega make another one. And of course, Super Monkey Ball, another one of my favorite Sega franchises. Pretty cool track, and it's nice to see bowling balls. Oh well. Ooh, we go for the gold track, that's awesome! The alternate version, Sega Illusions, mostly the same track, but in the nighttime, so it's kind of casino-based. You saw Phantasy Star characters just earlier. I don't know what the ship's name is, I'm sorry. I think I played Phantasy Star for 2 seconds one time. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The Knights area looks really great with this nighttime look, because Knights is obviously a nighttime character, hence the name Knights, but yeah, whatever. You get it! This section has a Space Channel 5 section, which is cool for all those Space Channel 5 fans out there. Are there any? I don't know anything about that game. I just know there's a character from it. It's on the Sega Dreamcast, and that's about it. The last thing is that there is a shop in the game where you can buy vehicles, and that's pretty much it. You pretty much have to grind up if you want to do that, or just glitch the game, I guess. But yeah, there is a shop that basically allows you to buy alternate vehicles or alternate characters. They do interesting things for some of them. They cannot be used in story mode, so any of you want to try to use it, cheat the story mode out, you can't. There's a lot of cool stuff. You do unlock the magic carpet after beating the game, so you have to buy that one. But yeah, the rest of these guys you have to buy. Anyway, the last mode is actually a survival mode in the game. This is an alternate mode, where basically just for fun mostly, because there's nothing really to it unless you want to get some extra rings, is that you have to get the Chaos Emerald and make sure you have it longer than anyone else. And if you don't have it for too long, well, you get eliminated. And that's just how this mode works. Alright, pretty basic, but pretty fun. Sonic Riders is a pretty fun game and has some interesting alternate content. However, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think when it works, but however, I feel like a lot of times it just doesn't really work for me. It's definitely a fun game, and I definitely recommend anyone give it a try, and just learn the controls a bit, see what you might like with it. It's definitely unique, and I would like to have seen Sega approve this game, but unfortunately it doesn't sound like they did improve on this concept at all, which sucks. There's definitely a lot of interesting concepts here. I just like a little bit more ironing out, because we have something really truly special here. However, when Sega fails, the fans come in. There's actually been a couple of new Sonic Riders fan games out recently. The one I'm talking about is Sonic Riders DX, which basically just fixes a lot of things for the first game, as well as add a bunch of new characters and a bunch of new stuff to it. It's also online compatible, so that's always cool to see. So yeah, there's a game for you guys to play, because Sonic Riders never got a remake. It's only stuck on the Sega GameCube. Did I say Sega GameCube? Nintendo GameCube, Sony PlayStation, and Microsoft Xbox. Sonic Riders isn't the most expensive GameCube game, however, it's definitely not super cheap there with a $35 complete price. It's one I recommend, and I don't think there's a big difference between that and the other 2 versions of the game, unlike other Sonic games, so you're safe going with PS2 or Xbox if you want to buy a copy of that. I put Sonic Riders near the top of the B tier. It's definitely a solid game. I feel like with more ironing out, like possibly being in the A tier. It's not my favorite Sonic racing game, because Sonic R has a weird special place in my heart, but I like the direction it was going for. The art style, and especially the intro cutscene with the 2D animation, is great. The music's good in the game. The vocal tracks I could care less about, to be honest. They're okay. Nothing special. I'm curious to see where the Zero Gravity takes the formula, even though I heard it's nowhere near as good as the original, but we'll see. Free Riders I already know it's going to be crap, because it's on the console is on, and yes, I know there's a Free Riders, a fan game that gets rid of the Kinect feature, so you can play on PC, and yeah, we'll see about that. So yeah, Sonic Riders, definitely a decent game, and I can definitely see why a lot of people love it. I think it's a little mixed bag when it comes to everything. It has a great presentation. It just has a little janky controls. I mean, I don't mind that, but I wish it wasn't so difficult. I don't mind difficulty, but I feel like a lot of times the difficulty happens because the control input just wasn't as accurate as I want it to be, which is not something I like to see. But yeah, Sonic Riders is definitely a very interesting game, and I can recommend it to people who are in certain type of person who might want a unique racing game that implements tricks. Then you'll like Sonic Riders. And that's all I gotta say. We'll see you next time for whatever Sonic game I cover. Maybe it's Sonic Genesis on the GBA, which would be a really short review. But until then, I'll see you then. And make sure you watch out my other stuff.